I never played The Legend of Zelda Majora's Mask as a kid. By the time it came out, my attention had drifted to other genres, other consoles, other interests. I always knew it was the weird Zelda game. It was the creepy one, the artsy one, the sad one. It was the Zelda game for the kids who liked Tim Burton movies and Halloween and crying in the rain. It was the Zelda game with the moon. But that reputation never really meant anything to me. It was a game that I skipped over. One of those games I figured I had just aged out of. Whatever magic it held, I assumed you had to be there. Recently, I started a project where I revisit games that I missed entirely. Not just as an adult, but as someone with absolutely no nostalgia for them. No childhood memories, no deep-seated emotional connections. Just me, the game, and the question, does this still hold up? The Legend of Zelda Ocarina of Time was the first entry in that series, and honestly, I liked it. I genuinely liked it. It didn't exactly make me feel nostalgic for Ocarina of Time itself, but it did something kind of weirder. It made me nostalgic for the era of gaming it came from, for foggy horizons and chunky polygons and that odd stillness a lot of N64 games seem to have had. That video is linked down below. I could see the blueprint, the influence, the bones of what would become 1,000 other games. It felt like a foundation. The Legend of Zelda Majora's Mask doesn't feel like that, though. Majora's Mask is not a foundation. It's a spiral. It's familiar, but off. It's sadder. It's stranger. It takes everything that Ocarina of Time built and warps it. It recycles it. It deconstructs it. It has the same engine, the same character models, and even some of the same animations, but instead of simply giving us Ocarina of Time 2, they leaned into something much stranger. Something that, again, felt familiar, but at its core, played completely differently. In some ways, it feels like a sequel made out of leftover parts, but in others, it's one of the most ambitious, emotionally charged games that Nintendo has ever made. It's a game about time. It's a game about grief, about repetition, about wearing other people's faces and solving problems you'll forget the next day. It's about being a child, watching the world end, and learning how to make peace with that. I've played a few strange games in my life, but few are as singular, as haunting, or as quietly devastating as Majora's Mask. And now that I've finally played it, I think I understand why it's never really let go of the people who have played it. Now, I won't be going over a detailed, scene-by-scene, moment-to-moment recap of this game. I really do think it ought to be experienced by those who are curious. But, that being said, there will be spoilers for this 25-year-old game in the video ahead. Welcome to Gentleman Brontos. I'm JB, and I have no nostalgia for The Legend of Zelda Majora's Mask. Majora's Mask doesn't waste any time. Right from the opening cutscene, there's an eerie stillness. A quiet forest, a lone rider, a sudden ambush. No fanfare, no guiding fairy. Navi boned the fuck out at the end of Ocarina of Time. It's just Link, alone, wandering somewhere that clearly isn't Hyrule anymore. The encounter with the Skull Kid, along with two fairy friends of his own, Tattle and Tail, hits like a dream gone wrong. 1 second, you're chasing your stolen horse. The next, you're spiraling through a psychedelic tunnel of masks, and then you're Deku Link. Not even a child in a new land, but a plant-like creature, stripped of identity, stripped of agency, stripped of familiarity. It's disorienting. It's a little scary. And for me, it was immediately captivating. Stepping into Clocktown for the first time only deepened the sense that this wasn't going to be a typical adventure. The music is upbeat, but slightly off-kilter. The townsfolk are bustling about, all caught up in their own problems, and they don't seem especially interested in you. And over it all, hanging low in the sky, is the moon. With that face. You can't ignore it. It's not just looming, it's watching. What struck me most in those early moments wasn't just the surreal tone, it was the urgency. You're told the moon will fall in 3 days, and that's not some vague prophecy or late game event. It's a timer, already ticking. This isn't Hyrule, where you can meander through fields and leisurely uncover your destiny. This is Termina, and it's dying. The first 3 days in Clocktown are overwhelming. You're thrust into this strange city with barely any direction. Characters mention a festival, a missing performer, and a nervous mayor. People are worried, but no one seems to be panicking about the literal apocalypse hanging over their heads. There's a kind of denial at play, a quiet dread beneath the surface. You spend that first cycle trying to figure out what to do. Chasing the Skull Kid, talking to townspeople, maybe dipping into some side quests without even realizing it. But no matter how you spend your time, the end is coming. And when it arrives, when the music changes, when the ground shakes and the moon starts to descend, you're not ready. You don't save the world. You play a song, you rewind, and that's when it clicks. The second you return to the dawn of the first day, everything you thought you knew about how this game works gets rewritten. This isn't a linear story. It's a loop. It's a cycle. One where you retain your knowledge and your progress, but the world resets. Back to before it knew you, before you helped anyone. People forget you. Suffering resets. And you begin again, watching the same lives spiral toward the same doomed conclusion. Unless you intervene. It's equal parts empowering and heartbreaking. You realize that your role in this world isn't just to be the hero in shining armor. It's to observe, to listen, to understand. Only then can you start to make real change. Not by swinging your sword, but by learning people's routines, piecing together their stories, and finding the right moments to help them. You become not just an adventurer, but a kind of time-traveling detective, a compassionate interloper. And that first reset isn't just a twist in the gameplay. It's the moment you realize this isn't an epic quest to save a kingdom. It's something smaller. It's something more intimate. Majora's Mask is a game about empathy, about powerlessness, and about how little things actually matter. Majora's Mask doesn't ask you to save the world in the usual way. It asks you to care, again and again and again. Majora's Mask doesn't follow the traditional Zelda formula. At least, not exactly. You're not collecting 8 magical trinkets across sprawling lands. There's no grand overworld that's slowly unlocking in a tidy, satisfying rhythm. Instead, the game is built around 4 main dungeons. Each temple in Majora's Mask ties its mechanics and puzzles to its region's problems, making them feel integral to the world rather than just like obstacles, and they each reward Link with a mask. Woodfall Temple feels eerie and abandoned, filled with dark wood and tribal markings. The theme of this temple is the corruption of nature and its purification. Enemies like mad scrubs and dragonflies reflect the corrupted natural world. This temple requires the use of the Deku Mask, which allows Link to hop across lily pads and skip across the top of water and use Deku flowers to hover across gaps. Defeating the temple's boss, Odolwa, clears the swamp's poisonous water, restoring it to normal, and frees the first of 4 giants who serve as guardians of Termina. Afterward, the swamp's ecosystem recovers, allowing access to previously hazardous areas, until you play the Ocarina and reset the cycle. Ice puzzles block paths in Snowhead Temple until Link finds fire arrows. A central pillar acts as the main structural puzzle. Raising and lowering it affects accessibility to different floors. Link uses the Goron mask, allowing him to use a powerful rolling attack to cross large gaps and break through snow-covered doors, as well as defeat Goat, the mechanical bull-like boss of this temple. Defeating Goat thaws the Goron village, allowing its residents to return to their normal lives. Frees the second giant, provides Link with a piece of the Oath to Order, a song that Link will use to stop the moon's descent once completed, and ends the eternal winter in the region. Until you play the Ocarina and reset the cycle. With a theme of controlling chaos and water flow manipulation, the Great Bay Temple revolves around a giant water turbine system, requiring Link to change water currents to access new areas. The Zora mask allows Link to swim through strong currents and dive to activate switches, and honestly, where the fuck was this thing during the Water Temple in Ocarina? Defeating Georg cleanses the ocean of murky waters and dangerous currents. The third giant is freed, and the Zora people regain hope as their home is no longer under direct threat. Until you play the Ocarina and reset the cycle. The most ominous and mysterious of the temples is the Stone Tower Temple, which has stone faces and intricate carvings and eerie silence reinforcing its forgotten nature. This temple's theme seems to be duality and perception. The entire dungeon revolves around the light arrows, which flip the entire temple upside down. Puzzles here require multiple masks, including the strength of the Goron mask, the agility of the Zora mask, and the flight capability of the Deku mask. After defeating Twin Mold, these twin sand serpents, the curse affecting Epona Canyon breaks. The restless spirits of Epona can finally move on, bringing peace to the ruined kingdom, until you play the Ocarina and reset the cycle. With the fourth and final giant freed, the path to the final confrontation with Majora is set, as all four giants are now ready to aid Link in stopping the moon's descent. But the temples are almost beside the point. The actual core, the real core of Majora's Mask, is everything that happens between them. After the first cycle reset, you slowly gain access to new areas, each tied to a different region and dungeon, and each one suffering under the influence of the Skull Kid and the cursed masks he's unleashed. A swamp poisoned by corruption, a mountain gripped by endless winter, an ocean mired in grief, a canyon haunted by regret. Each place has its own small community, its own localized tragedy. And solving their problems isn't as simple as clearing a dungeon. It's about untangling layers of hurt and helping people move forward. And each time you return to Clocktown, to the same routines, the same people, the same impending doom. It creates a strange rhythm. You push forward, then pull back. Progress feels earned, but temporary. There's a constant tension between what you can do in a single cycle and what you'll have to let go of. Maybe you save someone's life, but you have to rewind time and watch them suffer again while you go work on something else. Maybe you clear a dungeon, but the world doesn't feel fixed. Not completely, because fixing things in Majora's Mask is never simple or permanent. The structure turns what could have been a frustrating gimmick, the 3-day time limit, into something deeply compelling. It encourages planning, experimentation, and reflection. You learn people's habits. You remember where they'll be at specific hours. You start thinking in cycles, not steps. The loop stops being a limitation and becomes a tool, a lens. It becomes a way to understand the world more deeply than any Zelda game before, or maybe since. Majora's Mask doesn't reward brute force. It rewards observation. It rewards patience. It rewards emotional investment. And that investment pays off, not just mechanically, but emotionally. Because the more you learn, the more connected you feel to this strange little world, the more it hurts to leave it behind. Time in Majora's Mask isn't just a gimmick. It's not just a countdown clock to make things more stressful, although it sort of does do that. Time is the entire language of the game. It's the lens through which everything is experienced, mechanically, narratively, and emotionally. From the moment you step into Clocktown, the pressure is on. You have 72 in-game hours before the moon crashes into the world. People say their lines, they go to work, they go to bed, they rehearse for the carnival, or they don't. They fall in love, they get cold feet, they give up, or they die. And then you play the Song of Time, and it all resets. Except, it doesn't. You don't reset. You remember. You've seen the patterns. You've seen someone cry, or scream, or make peace with their fate, and now you have to watch it all again. This loop creates a strange kind of intimacy. NPCs aren't just quest markers, they're living beings with routines and fears and tiny victories. It's a world where watching matters just as much as doing. You're not just the hero who saves the day. Sometimes you're just the person who witnesses it. While meeting these people and learning what they're up to and what they need, helping them resolve their issues before their world comes to an end is satisfying, if a little melancholy. Many characters are affected by the impending apocalypse, and Link can help them in meaningful ways. Characters like the Happy Mask Salesman, who is a mysterious figure who gives Link the Song of Healing and sets him on the quest to retrieve Majora's Mask. There's the spirits of Darmani and Mikau. Darmani was a respected Goron warrior who died trying to stop Snowhead's endless winter. Mikau was a Zora guitarist who died trying to rescue his band's lead singer Lulu's eggs. Link inherits their abilities with the Goron mask and the Zora mask, allowing him to interact with their respective communities. When Link plays the Song of Healing, their spirits find peace and their masks remain as their legacy. There's the Bombers, a group of young boys dedicated to helping people. Link can join them and earn their Bomber's Notebook, which tracks your side quests in the game. The Bombers reject Skull Kid from their group before the events of the game, which likely adds to his loneliness and anger. There's Romani and Cremia. Romani is a young girl who calls Link Grasshopper and claims that aliens abduct cows. Cremia, her older sister, runs the Romani ranch and is struggling financially due to the blockade on Milk Road. There's Pamela, a young girl whose scientist father is locked away in a closet, no longer human, but turning into a Gibdo. To help, you play the Song of Healing, which returns Pamela's father to his normal self. There's no big cutscene or explosion of light. He collapses, gasping, and slowly comes to, confused, scared, and then overwhelmed. His daughter embraces him. There's a moment of silence, and then he thanks you. The quest is short, mechanically simple, and completely optional, but it lands hard. There's no grand reward, although you do get the Gibdo mask, which is useful, but not flashy. What you really get is a simple moment of kindness in a place that's otherwise been so drained of it. Then there's Anju and Cafe. Anju is the innkeeper at the Stockpot Inn, and Cafe is her missing fiancé. This is the most elaborate side quest, spanning all 3 days and involving multiple NPCs. Cafe was cursed into a child's body by the Skull Kid and is in hiding after his wedding mask was stolen. Link must work with Cafe to recover the sun mask in the thief's hideout, and if successful, Anju and Cafe reunite and get married just before the moon falls. The complexity of this quest and the care that went into its story actually left me wondering why this is an optional quest at all instead of being part of the main path. What Majora's Mask seems to do best is show you how trauma, fear, and love all coexist. It doesn't tell you how to fix everything. It just lets you help. For a moment. And sometimes, that's enough. But there's this unavoidable melancholy to it all. Because even when you help someone, it doesn't stick. Not really. The wedding doesn't happen. The daughter doesn't reunite with her father. The bomb shop never gets robbed because you keep resetting everything before it can. Every win is temporary, and every connection is fleeting. But the act of trying still matters. There's something beautiful about that. The game seems to ask, if you help someone and the world forgets, does it still count? Majora's Mask is obsessed with cycles, with repetition, with the fear of being forgotten and the hope of being remembered. It's about impermanence and how we choose to spend the limited time we have. It's a game where you literally can't do everything in one lifetime. But sometimes you can do enough. And it's all framed in this childlike fairy tale logic. The moon has a face. Masks hold memories. Time is malleable, but consequences are not. It's dreamlike, but grounded in real, raw emotion. Grief, guilt, regret, forgiveness. In a weird way, Majora's Mask teaches you to be okay with the things you can't fix. It doesn't promise a perfect world. It promises a chance to make some of it better if you're willing to keep trying. After collecting the 4 boss remains and summoning the giants to halt the moon's descent, Link is transported to an eerily serene field inside the moon. This scene feels especially dreamlike, evoking themes of innocence, loss, and detachment from reality. The masked children's cryptic dialogue about friendship, strength, and the nature of existence adds a layer of unsettling introspection. Their questions almost seem directed at the player, at you, at me, as if challenging what has been learned through this journey. If Link has collected all 20 normal masks, he can complete their minigames and receive the Fierce Deity's mask from the lone child wearing Majora's Mask. The implications of this are fascinating. Majora's essence itself grants Link a form so powerful that it trivializes the final battle. Is this a reward? Or is Link being made into another force of destruction? Majora's Mask is unlike any other Zelda final boss. It's purely chaotic and unhinged, where the mask itself fights independently using whirling attacks and energy blasts. It's eerie, but relatively subdued. Phase 2 is Majora's Incarnation, which, in stark contrast to the first phase, this form moves erratically, almost dancing and flailing in a way that feels both humorous and deeply unsettling. Its speed and unpredictability are meant to create a sense of unease. In the final phase, Majora's Wrath is a monstrous, sinewy humanoid form that attacks aggressively. It's the most traditionally intimidating phase, but still maintains the game's sense of weirdness with its erratic movements and sounds. Majora's transformations reflect different aspects of fear, loneliness, and power gone unchecked. This final battle feels like a test of everything Link has endured, both mechanically and thematically. Or at least it would if it weren't for the Fierce Deity mask. The Fierce Deity mask turns Link into a powered-up version of a being resembling his adult self. It is simultaneously awesome and kind of dumb as a game reward, and it almost feels like something that should have been unlocked for like a New Game Plus run, because it turns the final fight into the easiest in the entire game. But once Majora is defeated, the moon vanishes and Termina is saved. The mask salesman retrieves Majora's mask, claiming its evil is now gone. Skull Kid, now free, expresses regret and loneliness. The giants whom he once considered friends but also resented reassure him that they never abandoned him. This resolution ties into one of the game's major themes: reconciliation. Skull Kid lashes out due to isolation, but in the end, he's reminded that true friendship endures. This whole sequence cements Majora's Mask as something beyond a standard Zelda adventure. It's a game about grief, identity, and the power of connection, all wrapped in a surreal, almost nightmarish world. Even though the game controls nearly identically to Ocarina of Time, I felt like I had to fight with the controls more consistently in Majora's Mask. I likely won't return to these games on the Nintendo Switch Online service and may opt instead for the 3DS remakes or even PC ports like Ship of Harkinian. Despite the controls, I don't think Majora's Mask is a particularly difficult game from a gameplay standpoint. I do think it is more obtuse than Ocarina of Time, though. It took me a fairly decent chunk of the beginning of the game before I felt like I understood what was happening and how I ought to approach the game. That learning curve is something that I found to be satisfying after the fact. I honestly bounced off this game a couple of times initially. Something about it just didn't click for me. And then it did. Playing Majora's Mask as an adult, without childhood nostalgia to guide me, was kind of like opening a time capsule I didn't bury myself. Despite it being released during my adolescence, I didn't grow up with this game. I didn't have the strategy guides or the playground rumors. I didn't engage with the weird expectations that came with it being the sequel to Ocarina of Time. I just sat down with it, controller in hand, in the year 2025, and tried to meet it on its own terms. And it hit me in a way I wasn't expecting. Not because of the moon, or the time limit, or the challenge, but because it understood something. Something a lot of games still don't really say out loud. That time passes whether we're ready or not. People don't always get closure. Helping someone, even temporarily, is still worth it. There's something deeply adult about that, ironically wrapped up in a game where you turn into a dancing shrub. I played Majora's Mask not long after Ocarina, and I liked Ocarina a lot. It's confident and mythic and sweeping in the way big adventures should be. But this was quieter. This was sadder. It was stranger. It lingered with me. Not just because it's good, but because it feels like something made by people who were tired. People who didn't want to do the same thing again. People who maybe had something they were grieving or couldn't quite say. And that resonates more now in my 30s than it ever would have when I was 13. Because I've had loops. I've had regrets. I've tried to help and failed. I've tried again and again and again. I've watched people I care about move on, or drift away, or just not be around anymore. Majora's Mask doesn't solve any of that. It just looks you in the eye and says, yeah, I know. And then it gives you a mask, and a song, and another try. Thank you so much for watching. If you liked the video, please hit that thumbs up, and if you haven't already, do feel free to subscribe to Gentleman Brontos. We would greatly appreciate it. If you haven't already, go back and check out my Ocarina of Time video, which is linked down below. Going forward, I'm not sure exactly what's next, so I would like to turn that question to you. This isn't meant to be a series or channel specifically dedicated to Zelda, but seeing as how I have now played 2 Zelda games, there are plenty more for me to go back and check out. Let me know if you've got a favorite that you would like to see me talk about in the future, or if there's any other game that you would like to see me talk about in the future. There's plenty of stuff I missed when I was a kid. Feel free to talk about Majora's Mask, how you feel about it, what you think about it, whether or not you think it's better than Ocarina of Time. I'd really like to know. Engage with each other, but please, let's keep it civil, y'all. Thank you again for watching. I am JB. This is Gentleman Brontos, and we're out. Peace.